Hi, and good evening, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is Vlogs About Nothing. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy night to join me. I really do appreciate it. I don't have my contacts in right now, and I guess it wouldn't matter even if I did. I just want to talk tonight about school experiments. And so, here's the thing. Our parents, and grandparents, and all the different people that fall within those different cohort groups, you feel me, in any way at all that they can be affiliated or associated to us. I guess without them, we all wouldn't be here, kind of a thing. I think about these things because, since I was a kid, right? And I mean, I just always thought it was kind of fishy, for a lack of better words, to hear other adults talk about their experience in the school system, you feel me? And it didn't matter like what part of the country that typically, people would have these conversations in regards to. It was just always kind of like a common theme, you feel me? It was kind of like the common theme being they were like abused heavily and en masse. And I would argue that just as we, as our own generation, identify as a millennial, and Gen Z and Alpha and Gen X and so forth, I think every arbitrarily defined generation is a victim of a large-scale kind of mass abuse, right? And that's, we live in a world where we debate. There's a continued debate as to the ethics of that G word that has an E after it, an N after the E, and ends in side. I mean, how can we possibly think there's been any progress, you feel me, when scholars, academics, and the continued perpetuation from generations forth just discuss the kinds of things that we all know are inherently wrong, are gonna get us a first-class ticket to hell, and yet we're still trying to justify these things, you feel me? And I bring this up because there's an interesting link in the description below, and it talks about school experiments, or experiments in school rather, and kind of just to tie that all up, maybe Gen X and baby boomers and the silent generation, maybe they were also, victims of their own circumstance, in that, it seems as if there is a large part of the population that went through some terrible things in the education system. I mean, moreover, right after the Civil War ended, 1864, circa that timeline, also when Coca-Cola was established. Shout out to all the companies that were established right and or around that particular time, apparently a good time to start business, although it's a friendly reminder that we did not end even slavery, right? In that you can fact check all of what I'm saying, but I do believe the last person that was identified as a slave here in America didn't even pass away until the early 30s or late 20s, you feel me? And just also then after the Civil War, the black and brown community had to deal with fighting for civil rights, kind of a thing. I think that passed in somewhere around 1960, 1964. It took 100 years after the end of the Civil War to guarantee basic civil rights for black and brown people, and even into this day, it can be argued that the entire United States enterprise is run and is underwritten by systemic racism, and I say all of this, right, because link in the description below, I think that there's a large body of evidence now that is clearly going to be in the favor of all those people and all those children that were children in the 80s and 90s that were victims of abuse at schools. And it sucks that it took 40 years to talk about it, but at least we're talking about it, and at least again now we know without a doubt, as if we shouldn't have believed these victims to begin with, right? When they started to make these claims, what are you talking about, Albert? Where is this going? You know, what are you, you know, what I'm talking about is way better described in the video in the description below, in the link in the description below. I'm not that guy to explain, you know, history to you. I'm just the guy that lets you know how I feel about it. And this is kind of the point too, where even in character, I really, you know, you guys look this stuff up. You feel me? By no means do I want to be like that person. You know, I know nothing. This is all just a show that I do to sort of try and get people to talk about things that, you know, maybe aren't so much inconvenient as they are ill-informed, right? So, you know, ignorance is bliss kind of a thing, but once you know about a problem, how you gonna feel about it kind of a thing. Anyways, so again, like, from all likes of what it appears to be, most of the children that attended public schools here in America were literal victims of social experiments. Okay, that's all that I'm saying. And yeah, I'm a little riled up about it too, because I remember just hearing many different people all throughout my life talk about how unpleasant their experience at school was, and moreover, not just how unpleasant it was, but how, like, downright criminal and abusive it sounded, you feel me? In terms of, like, I mean, the closest thing that I can even think to compare it to is a fictionalized version of a story that has a protagonist named Matilda. You know, I like Mrs. Trunchbull kind of bullying, you feel me? Kind of like, just like on some extreme cringe. And again, now we know that a reason for a lot of the abuse that was occurring in schools, and or the lack of accountability and transparency amongst adults and trying to be responsible and so forth, is because they were clearly, like, you know, they were the people that were conducting the experiments, right, on children, on our own citizens, you feel me? And again, like, I'm very pro-America, you know, and in fact, I'm so pro-America. I'm such a United States pro-national kind of a guy that, like, I feel like doing those things are inherently against our own interest. You feel me? I strongly feel like that. I'd even more argue now that, like, since there is AI and we can, you know, essentially create anything in a virtual world that we see IRL, that, like, experiments, I'm not a scientist, but, like, can't you just test things, like, digitally now? I mean, I'm not sure that I could ever be, you know, sold the fact or the idea that, like, experimenting on your, like, children in any way, you feel me? Not just because they're, like, you know, they're American children. God, let me be clear here. No children should be experimented on in any organized, modern kind of situation. You know, I mean, again, like, the more we think about it and the more that we look at this evidence and the more that we begin to postulate, you know, our surroundings and stuff, it sort of sounds like we're already, you know, in sort of like a huge dystopian kind of an environment, and that, like, it's really a lot worse than we could have possibly imagined, in that there are agents, you know, literal agents. Shout out to all the agents who browse through my channel every so often. Do they count as views? That's all that I have ever wondered about, is, like, you know, the people at like the Department of Homeland Security and NSA and, you know, the CIA and FBI and stuff, when these guys have teams of people like the cyber police or whatever, you know, making sure that I'm not saying anything too crazy, right? And it's not just me, it's everybody, right? That's a surveillance tool. That's very pervasive. It's very policey, you know? And I'm just saying that, like, I'm asking out loud, when those people or those teams, when they watch this content, does it, like, register on YouTube? Does it, like, you know, are they, like, a viewer as well? Because I hope that they are, right? We need all the help that we can get here on the channel, and so whoever you are, I don't care. If you watch the video, make sure that it is reflected in the stats there. That's all that I'm saying. You know, check out this video in the link in the description. There are just, and this is kind of like a newer topic, obviously, you know, I'm not sure, again, how many people would even give an older person the time of day to, like, talk about, you know, their experiences in school. I mean, my experience in school appears to be very much different from, like, anyone and everyone I've ever met, with the exception of the people that I grew up with in these certain social situations, going to school and stuff. I mean, you know, really, my experience in school was pretty decent. I mean, and by all comparisons, you know, it was a utopia. You feel me? I mean, again, who knows? Maybe they experimented on us too. And they were just a little more like non-violent about it. You know, I don't know. I just understand now that the United States government has been complicit in doing lots of things to our own people since the inception of certain intelligence agencies like the CIA and the FBI, all of which, again, all of these things were discussed, they were debated, and at the end of the day, you know, even the good old boy who was in charge in the 60s did not want this to happen. And I'm talking about JFK, right? I'm talking about the Dallas boy, the Edward M. Dulles, whatever your name is, you feel me? You are responsible, I'd say, in my own personal opinion, for the early, fatality of good old JFK, and moreover, also the implementation of all these different kinds of covert domestic agencies that get money from us to do terrible things to us. And all while the politicians who enable these fools to do this sell you the idea that they're actually trying to protect you. Again, shout out to modern day Democrats and Republicans who are a problem. They are not just a part of the problem, they are the problem. I mean, you can't blame appointed governmental positions on anybody other than the people who appoint them to those positions, my friends. And that would be politicians, you know? And again, so all that I'm saying is that I'm not pro-America in a version of which we use everybody like, you know, some type of test tubes or something. Shout out to, you know, I literally have a friend, who cares? Anyways, I may or may not know somebody who's come from a test tube, and I think it's great. I think that's a good thing. Shout out, you feel me? Anyways, if you think about it, we all kind of came from a test tube, you know? I don't know what's been wrong with me and my euphemisms lately. I just know that I like to try and not stay so serious, especially when I'm talking about things that are, like, by sheer definition, horrific. You feel me? Like, I can't imagine, you know, like, just, like, little kids, you feel me? Like, and then, like, parents, they pick them up and everything, and, you know, they're like, how's the day? And they're like, oh, you know, little Johnny was great today. I reported all the findings, you know, on over to a certain department of the government, just so that we could keep tabs on little Johnny, you know, just in case he can move objects with his mind, or he's exceptionally good at math, you know. I mean, in either case, we're putting him to work, and then not in anything good, right? I mean, you can move things with your mind, you're going over to the Department of Defense, you know, and you're really good at math. Oh, hey, we got a spot on open for you at some research lab so that you can help make weapons of mass destruction. You know what I mean? So it's sort of like, it's a win-win for everybody, wouldn't you say? I don't think so. And in case you didn't catch that very sarcastic tone, you know, this is the way of the world. Again, I've talked about it before. Priorities. I may be joking about it, but that is, in fact, what this government continues to do with the best and the brightest of all of its talent that we have. We're not really like pro-peace kind of a, you know, world. It's not just here in America. This is a worldwide problem. And moreover, what's funny is that, in my opinion, it's not a worldwide problem amongst like billions of people. Like, that'd make more sense, right? On the surface of things, you'd be like, oh, okay, a bunch of people, they can't get along, you know? That makes sense, but that's not the case. We actually live in a world that could actually be extremely peaceful, that could provide free electricity, that could have universal health care, that could make sure everyone is fed, you know, all of these basic things, and those things help build our collective species, right? Those are the things that allow us to explore. They allow us to research, you know, into the stars, you know, wherever we want to go. But just so long as we're all stuck down here fighting rich people's battles on behalf of rich assholes, you know, then I don't really think we're gonna get far. And that really is the way that the world works. You know, we don't need a history teacher to tell us this very simple yet complex sort of an idea here, right? Because I understand that there's a lot of hate out there, you know, feel me? I get it. I can feel it from here. But, I mean, do we really help matters at all if we continue to just utilize and use the very people that are our neighbors, our community members, you know, other people for our own private gain, you know, whatever it is, you know, forget Uncle Sam, you know, why does Uncle Sam need to know who can move objects with their minds and who is good at math? Jesus Christ, you know? I mean, like, civil liberties, you know, individual freedoms, the opportunity to be or have any kind of agency. These are the things that are invaluable. These are the things that are immeasurable, and these are the things that on a continual basis, you know, there are certain individuals out there who just aren't interested in that, you know, and it bothers me. And so I just hope that you guys check out the video in the link in the description so that you can know that what I'm saying is coming from a place of truth and genuine sort of just like WTF, man, you know, WTF. It's not even, the truth is a very scary thing, you know, and I understand now that it's not easy to talk about these things, but if we don't talk about these things, you know, we can't make things any better, and moreover, we can't put a close on things unless, you know, we've given them their proper sort of their due diligent closing, you know? I mean, haven't you guys ever heard of Ghost? Jesus Christ. Anyways, met somebody the other day. I'm getting out of character. Met someone recently who was telling me all about their cool little ghost stories and everything. And I failed to tell them also that we also have a resident ghost here in our apartment. And I think that's a really cool thing. Shout out to the friendly ghost, you know? I think that it's a friendly ghost. I think that it's a woman. And I think that I'm thinking these things because there was an instance of which that may or may not have happened in our apartment before we were the people that lived in here that, like, you know, this lady's still hanging out. And I don't know. Do you believe in ghosts, Albert? You're out of character and you're talking nonsense. Yes, I do. And I am out of character, and no, I don't think it's nonsense. So, I mean, Jesus, how many of you guys practice religion? I mean, you know what I mean? Let's not go there, because I do that too. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I am a basket case. I don't think so. But, anyways, I'm out of character now, so I don't need to be all funny and everything. I hope that you guys are doing really good. You feel me? And you guys should definitely watch that video. It was a pretty fun day. You know, I'm trying to take it easy today and tomorrow so that I can have a little bit of energy for this weekend. I always do that. I would say that, like, it's because I'm getting old and I'm getting tired, you know, and those things, but it's not. And in fact, I feel pretty lively, you know. Any 20-year-olds out there that want to race, you know? I'm just saying that, like, yeah, I'm feeling okay. Everything's going good, and that's it, you know? Not exceptionally, like, great or anything. I haven't stumbled on a suitcase of money, you feel me? But you know, that'll come, I'm sure of it. As much as I don't want it to come, I'm sure it will. Yeah, so it's been an interesting sort of slower paced time for me right now, and that's all fun because I'm gonna have to use a lot of energy this weekend, and I'm thinking about getting a haircut and shaving off all of my beard. And so what kind of video would this be from me if I didn't talk about, you know, that? It's been a pretty popular topic for me. Okay, I gotta end this video. We're at 19 minutes. Jesus Christ, I love you, Albert. I love it when I'm doing like this, you know, and the video is done when I need it to be done. So I hope that y'all have a really awesome Tuesday night, you feel me? Did I not, like, wish you guys a happy Taco Tuesday? Happy Taco Tuesday, alright? There's still time, okay? Go eat your taco, your favorite taco. If you only have one taco, go eat it. I'm done with the euphemisms, all right? I hope that you guys have a wonderful night. I'm eating no taco. I'm actually eating tacos tonight, but not the kind of tacos. I hope that you guys have a really good night, all right? Bye.